So I just wanted to kind of talk about what I believe to be basically some current issues in our education system and why I believe that we're kind of seeing a downward turn um, in that sense. And the first thing that I've kind of noticed, and I think this first one is kind of something that a lot of people could understand how this is an issue. Well, not an issue, but how it has led to where our current sense of education is as a society. And that thing is the internet. Now, the internet has made it readily available for people to have other opportunities to learn and go into a career field. And what this has done is basically made people who are interested in starting their own business, you know, they have a skill that they want to make money off of. They basically realize that these classes that they are taking are not going to really help them get to where they want to be. And so then what this does is they basically realize that they don't really need to be putting as much time into school, because why would they if it's not helping them get to where they want to be? Now, there's always going to be your people like the scientists, the mathematicians, architects, engineers, and those people will probably always go to school. I don't really think that, at least not in the near future, that that kind of learning and that degree will be replaced by online learning or some other form. But like I was saying, those people who realize that what they want to do and how they want to make money in life is not something with school, well, then they are going to basically figure out what is the least amount of work that they can put in to school to basically keep their grades up. And it's kind of like school maxing. You basically realize, okay, I need to put all of my effort into this, and I can kind of let these things slide, so I don't really need to focus on these grades because these won't matter as much. And then there's this extra credit. But other than that, I realized that, okay, I don't really need to pay attention in my classes, because after the lesson is over, I can go home and I can search on YouTube how to do this and how to do this kind of equation and stuff like that. And so basically, people are less involved in school. And now, this kind of like maximizing to do the minimum effort to kind of make it through can kind of be a good skill to have, because there might be a time in your life where you're in a bad job, but it is paying the bills. And so you realize, okay, I don't need to use up all my energy, but I need to do this, this, and this at work. And this will let me keep my job and I'll keep getting paid. So, it's kind of this shift basically that we're seeing, where these newer generations, there's so much more options than just going to college or, pursuing a sort of degree. And I think that's kind of like the first kind of start of what we are seeing in this new education system that is being formed, or the lack of. And then this kind of leads into the second thing, but the second issue that we're seeing is basically a decline in teachers and I think overall teacher satisfaction in their job. And this ties in because, teachers are going to see, okay, oh, these people aren't engaged in my class. My students, they don't come to me for questions. They just talk to their friends about how a test was. And this will kind of basically make teachers feel less satisfied in their jobs, because they can't really see exactly what they are helping the student to accomplish. Because most people these days, their goals in life are not something that is by a degree. And when I'm talking about these teachers, I mainly mean teachers in high school, because I feel like, at least to some degree, professors, they've kind of weeded out, once they get to college, there's most people who want to be there, they kind of have some sort of idea. And so there's probably more teacher to student engagement in college, I would believe. This is kind of just me basing it off of what I think I've seen. And, you know, it's kind of, I think, just, it's the reason that we're not seeing a big increase in teacher salaries to keep up with basically current inflation rates and just the cost of living nowadays. And in our modern world, in our capitalist society, if you are providing something that is of very high value and can basically not be replaced, then you are going to be earning lots of money. You know, the social media creators who are targeting a niche, they're going to be making a lot of money because that is what people are looking for right now. And on the other hand, the in-person part of teaching is kind of becoming obsolete. But on the other hand, we can kind of see the YouTube side and the teaching side of like online courses is skyrocketing, because that's where people are going to learn things nowadays, because they can search for, oh, how do I learn this instrument? If they have a math class and they didn't hear something that the teacher said in the math class, then, okay, let me go to YouTube and figure out how to do this equation. And I don't think that this is necessarily a bad thing, because people are basically learning that if there are things that they specifically have to do, they are figuring out how to basically problem solve. And through that, they're becoming, I would say, a more independent society, even though we've kind of seen kind of like a decline in the people really wanting to be adults and deal with adult responsibilities. And I think that if we see the current trend continue of college rates, like people wanting to enroll in colleges, kind of go down, and people realize, you know what, this isn't worth it, money-wise, time-wise. I really would want to be in a job after high school that isn't something because of a degree. And if we see that trend continue, then people will be hopefully becoming adults right at 18. And, if we look back in, the times when people were in like prairies or they had to build log cabins, it was pretty much at 16, they would leave their family and they would set off to go hunt for their family or make money and live on their own. And kind of through the new age, we have seen people who really, the main reason that they're going to college is to extend that level of comfortability and stability that they are used to in high school. And so my hope is that people will slowly realize that this is kind of useless, and then maybe do some more introspection into how they could start something of their own, or how they could get a skill of theirs monetized and off the ground, and kind of reverse the delayed adulthood that is currently happening in our society. And that would make people more mature. And overall, I just think it'd be a good thing. Now, the other reason that I think we are seeing a decline in the education system, and this is kind of a byproduct of our current society with social media and other things, is the decline of people finding partners and spouses in school. So back in the 80s, it wasn't very uncommon for people to find someone in high school and, get married to them. And, probably after high school. But the same can go for college. It was somewhere where you would meet people who are on the same path as life as you, and they are like similar age group. Maybe the person is studying the same thing. And now with the decline of birth rates and, people finding relationships, that was kind of just another reason for people to really hold on to college. Those relationships and those friendships, even if the education part is not there so much, it's kind of like the last part that people are holding on to, because if they don't go to college and, are in that atmosphere, they think that they won't be able to find people around their own age or, a spouse or something else. And if we see that those birth rates continue to go down and those relationship rates, then I think that last bit that people are holding on to of college for that and for that atmosphere will eventually vanish. And like I had said earlier, that's where I hope that people will see, okay, college, this kind of doesn't really make sense for me. Let me do some self-reflection and really think about, what do I want to contribute to the world? How can I make money off of it? And will this make me happy in the long term? And if people are thinking about those questions earlier, then by ages 24 and 25 of, normal graduation years for college students, I'm hoping that people will be more mature than they would have been if they had just gone through the safety net of college. Now, I don't really have anything against college. I think that if you have the funds to do it and you're willing to spend the time and you think that it will greatly benefit you, or you want to stay with friends, or, especially if there is a certain degree that you want to get, then you should definitely go. But this is kind of just my thoughts on what we are seeing with the education system somewhat in high school, and then how that is leading into college. So to recap, the first thing we see is students realizing that, hey, these classes are not something that I will need in my future profession, which leads to them figuring out what is the least amount of work that they can do to just basically either get by or still get good grades. And then the next thing is we are seeing that teacher salaries are not keeping up with the cost of living nowadays. And it's kind of because we are seeing that shift in the value that we place on education and these classes. And the shift in those salaries has kind of gone to online teachers, like I said, and other forms and classes. And so that was the second thing. And then the third thing that we are seeing is because those relationship rates and birth rates are going down even more, that is an indicator that that last part, which is kind of holding on some people because they want to be surrounded by people and want to be in relationships or in that kind of atmosphere, that is the last part. And as that slowly goes down, I believe that we will slowly see a trend of, new innovators, hopefully, that by the time they graduate high school can go off to better the world and be happier members of society and hopefully more productive members of society. And that's my thoughts on kind of where we're at in the sense of universities and current education. If you have any questions or, something you want me to talk about, just drop them in the comments below, or you could send me an email, and maybe I'll make it into a video or I'll talk about it. But yeah, that's all I have for y'all.